So, as I said, the chicken had a little soy sauce, some cider vinegar, some salt, and a little bit of honey. And in here, I have cornstarch and baking powder, and I'm just gonna sprinkle some on here. You can use, like, you don't need the grate on here, but I like the grate. Some people have said they find it crispier when they don't use the grate. I'm just going to brush a little oil on the grate, and that's going to prevent these from sticking. And then you want to put these fat side up as best you can, and they don't want to be touching each other either. And I already have the oven preheated to 475 on convection. Again, if you don't have convection, it's not that big of a deal, but you probably would want to let these dry in the fridge for a bit, maybe like 4 hours to even overnight. And I only marinated these for like 2 hours. That's fine. Especially with vinegar, you want to kind of watch out how much you marinate. And just keep them nice and spread out. And skin side up, like I said. And then these are going to go for like maybe half hour. Then I'm going to flip them, and we'll do a little more time. While they're in the oven, we're going to make the Negroni glaze. We're going to talk a little bit about Negronis, and we're also going to do a candied orange as like a topping for them. This is also a new oven, so we'll see how that goes. Might have to play around with it a little bit. And I've obviously used chicken, so I'm going to clean up a little bit. So, yeah, Negronis always come with a peel of orange on them. So my plan for these, I don't really like the texture of eating like a raw orange peel. So I thought that it would be a good idea to instead candy the orange peels and serve them on top, because then it has a better sort of chewy texture that you can actually bite into, not just that weird sort of like that will just stick in your mouth. So I washed these already, and I'm going to take the this peeler. And this julienne peeler is my favorite kitchen tool, really. I use it all the time. Some people will do a spiralizer, but for me, I would rather use this than a spiralizer. I think you end up with like a better final product and more of it. Cool. The thing when you're using any orange peel too is you don't want any of the white stuff really because it's super, super bitter. The boiling of these will help, so it doesn't matter that there's a little white left over. But normally, this would probably be too much white if you weren't candying them. I just put some water in here so far, and I'm going to add a bunch of sugar. And then I'm going to add these here. And I need a couple more. Yeah, it's when you're candying something, you need to put a lot of sugar in. But the thing is, like, we're basically boiling it in a simple syrup, so we're not eating all the sugar. Most of this is going to get dumped out in the end. It's just as a way to turn these into almost like gummy candy texture. So I'm just going to let that boil for a while, and the sugar is going to melt. And these are going to become a cool texture, and then I'm going to toss them in a little more sugar. Yes, more sugar. So a Negroni is basically my favorite cocktail by far, and it's super easy to make. It's 1 part gin, 1 part Campari, or any sort of bitter Italian liqueur will do, and 1 part sweet vermouth. I always keep these on hand because it's so easy to make, and I love making these kind of like my last drink of the night usually. But I just thought it might be a really cool glaze for these wings. It's one of the most popular cocktails, and there's actually a whole week dedicated to it called Negroni Week, and it's coming up in mid-September. So I thought these would be a perfect wing to celebrate that. So since it's 1 to 1 to 1, it's very easy to make in a larger batch. So I want a cup of this, and then we're going to reduce it down with maybe a touch of vinegar, a touch of sugar, and maybe a few chili flakes. So I'm just going to do 1/3 of a cup of each of these things. That's the gin. Campari. And vermouth. So for vermouth, it will be my first drink of the day today, Rich. For vermouth, you don't want to use some like super cheap vermouth that you bought for a recipe like a year ago and it's been sitting on your counter since then. You want to get maybe the slightly next level up vermouth, first of all. You should store it in the fridge, and it's really only going to last you like 2 months, maybe 3 months if you're lucky. But following those few vermouth tips will help you a lot with making a Negroni, because when it's 1/3 of the recipe, it needs to be a pretty good ingredient. So I'm just going to take this and put it into a frying pan here. Actually, why don't I add the stuff right here? So I'm going to put just like maybe a teaspoon of more sugar. I need a little more because we want this to be a glaze on the wings, and wings are great when the topping is very sticky. So I'm going to add a little honey too. I'm going to add the slightest little touch of orange juice and a few red pepper flakes, which again is really going to remind you that these are wings, and most people have wings, hot wings. Great, so I'm going to throw that in the pan and cook it, and I hope that it's going to reduce a little bit. And just for an update, these are the orange peels that are candied. Great, so while all that's happening, I'm going to make a Negroni for myself. I put this cup into the freezer about 10 minutes ago just because I wanted that ice to be ready to go for us. And like I said earlier, equal parts of gin, Campari, and vermouth. I actually usually, in this glass, because it's the right size, I usually make what I call a 133% Negroni, which is just 1 1/3 of each thing instead of 1. Because I mean, it's Thursday afternoon, right? And this drink is generally stirred, not shaken, and often with a finger. Very good, very good. I can hear the wings, so I guess the oven is doing pretty well. Right. So you can see they're starting to get brown. They're starting to get a little crispy. And I'm just gonna flip them all right now. Probably with a tong instead of my bare hand. I switched from gas stove to electric, and I was definitely concerned. My gas stove would really pump out these wings, so I was worried that it wouldn't be as powerful, but it looks like we are in pretty good shape here. One thing I like to do with convection too is like put the bigger ones on the outside, because that's where there's the most airflow. And as you can see, some of the outside ones are definitely getting darker first. That's good. I'm going to give those about 15 minutes on that side, and then finish them maybe on a broil, or even crank up the heat a little on the fat side for the last 10 minutes or so. These are looking good. The glaze I'm a little more worried about because it's still pretty watery, but I would say it seems a little viscous, so we'll see. I'm going to add a little salt to that glaze right now. Cheers. Forgot which camera it was for a minute. No, this is my first one still. So this is just the sugar, and I'm going to spread it out in the pan and strain out those orange peels. So what do you guys think? These look pretty good, right? Just wanted to turn the oven up a notch. The wings look good, but like I said before, I think they need a little more heat, especially on this new electric oven that I'm not used to yet. We're about ready to get everything together once these wings are done. I'm gonna flip them one more time in 5 minutes. Then they're gonna have 10 minutes to finish, and then I'm gonna toss them in the glaze. But for now, in the next 5 minutes or so, I'm gonna grab some plates and stuff because I'm gonna take photos of the wings right here to post later on. So smoking up the house pretty nicely here. Gonna flip on that one last time. Rich, look at this. You can make them yourself. It's not that hard in the oven. All right, almost there. If you knew I was going to say that, then why did you ask? So this is definitely looking pretty glazy. Let me get a spoon. To me, the key to a good wing glaze is you need it to be like a little sticky, a little sweet. Sticky and sweet, they come together. But you need a little bit of sort of like a tang to it. And I think that's what the Campari is going to do here. And you need a little heat. That's why I added chili pepper. But the stickiness is important because it has to stay on the wings. Like I've made wing sauce before, that like before I knew what I was doing, that would just like drip off the wings and they somehow spicier than I thought. I didn't think I put that many chili peppers in, but it doesn't matter because it's so good. It has like that really good Negroni flavor, and it's more balanced than a Negroni is because the Negroni usually is pretty bitter. But because I added sugar to it and a little vinegar, it sort of like balanced all the flavors. Instead of being heavily bitter, it just is a nice sauce. It's sort of, I wish I could describe it better. Almost reminds me of like a Shirley Temple. These are awesome. I'm gonna take them out. Ooh, and it's again. All right, and then we're gonna take these candied orange peels. There's a little too much errant sugar going around here. Awesome, looks great. I'm gonna take a few photos. I was about to be like, this picture needs a beer behind it, and then I was like, no, it literally looks like it needs a Negroni behind it. I almost drank too much of it. To me, that's the thing about when you bake them versus fry them, is like more of the fat breaks down, and it actually really will like fall off the bone and fall apart in your mouth. A lot of times, fried wings don't really have that, so that's what I love about baking them lately. I used to be like fried or nothing, but it comes out awesome this way. And what's great about doing this is sometimes you can bake them and just finish them on the grill. Adds a really nice char and crunch to them as well, and still gets the insides cooked the way they need to be. These came out awesome. Really happy with them. They have that bitterness still. They have a little heat. Really tasty. I'm gonna try to stream here every Thursday afternoon. I will get my microphone situation fixed for next week, and I'm also gonna post these on YouTube. But you can also always follow me on Instagram and Facebook and my website, thefoodinmybeard.com, for more awesome stuff. I will see you guys next week. Thank you so much.